Wow, what an introduction. I don't really know how to follow that. Actually, my plan was to just sit down because, as already mentioned, this is going to be a very honest conversation. Because I feel like even though I've been in this branch for 2 years now, there has been so much going on. So first of all, thank you guys so much for inviting me. Thank you to Womenize for making this happen. I think it's really important that we share moments like this because it's important to always bring the attention back in order to make an actual change. But you guys might be wondering, who is she? What does she do? What is a caster? Because not everyone is super informed about esports, right? So being an actress, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I have been acting my whole life. I went to drama school, and I never actually wanted to become a caster in esports. It just sort of happened. And I think we can all relate to the journey of that because it was 2020. We were in a pandemic, and I needed to look for a hobby. And my hobby of choice was gaming. My first gaming experience was when I was probably about 5 to 6 years old. I was playing Nintendogs on my neon green Nintendo DS Lite. It was a pleasure. I still have those dogs, by the way. But I really did never have the time to actually commit to gaming so much because when you go to drama school, you're in drama school 10 hours a day. So it's really whatever. You don't have time to do a lot of other things. And then 2020 came. We didn't go to school anymore. We were forced to stay at home. And that's when I turned back to esports. And that first happened through Formula One esports, which is a bit crazy. But I have to say I'm a big Formula One nerd. I love race cars. But there was no racing because, again, pandemic. So I looked at F1 esports and I was like, okay, maybe this can be a substitute for what I'm actually looking for. And then the circle suddenly closed and I went back to League of Legends, which I had watched on and off when I was, I would say, 17, 18 years old. But then it never really got so much attention from me anyways. And that was 2020 and I was really excited to be hyped about something like that, to have this new hobby on the side. And that was also the first time I saw female broadcast talents. Some of you might know Shox. She's an incredible person. She's an incredible role model for every female in esports, I would say. And she really was the first female role model I had in that scenario. Also Laura doing great interviews. But it took until 2021 until I saw a female caster, a female commentator who's bringing the hype. I saw G Trouble Inc. do it in the NLC. And that was the first time ever I thought, wait, can I do that? Is that something you're actually allowed to do as a woman? Because I've only ever seen men do it and they are doing great. But can I do that? And that was when I first started out and I was looking at, okay, how can I get into this? How can I do this? And I had a friend who started casting in Uni League in Germany. And I told him, I was like, look, I would really like to try this out. Maybe we can do something. And he said, sure, just come over. And then my journey kind of started. And it's a little crazy because I made it from Prime League Div 5, which is one of the lower divisions in our German league, to Prime League Div 1 within 2 years. And I, to this day, don't really know what happened, which is funny because that's the most asked question. How did you do it? What did you do? And to be honest, I'm never entirely sure. I think I've also had a lot of luck. I think your mom's over there. I've had a lot of luck, but I think there's 2 primary things that I would want to recommend, and that stands for casting a video game as much as for anything else. Just start somewhere. Because if I wouldn't have felt like, okay, maybe I can just try it out, I would have never even gotten anywhere with it. So my big advice that I always give when people ask me is like, just start somewhere, even if it's small, even if it's the tiniest little team on the side, just do it. Start it and then see how you feel about it. And the other big lesson that I've learned was ask for feedback. I know it's really hard. I feel really uncomfortable asking people for feedback, especially those that I look up to. There's one specific caster I would love to send my VODs to, but I just can't. I'm not ready yet. But I feel like most of the opportunities I've gotten throughout the past 2 years happen from asking people for help and asking them for their opinion, not even wishing for an opportunity to come out of that. I don't expect someone to give me a job if I ask them for feedback, but I want to know what they think I can improve. I want to know what they think my potential is. And that has taught me a lot. And you need to make yourself seen. I think if it's the one thing I've learned, it's no one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to put you out there if you don't start doing it yourself. You need to be visible. You need to be proactive. And you need to make people aware of you. And it's really scary. But most of the time, it's worth it. But let's go to the main topic of this whole conversation, now that you've got to know me just a little bit. Women in esports. I mean, look, there's mansplaining, there's sexism, I've had death threats, and those are many, many reasons to feel small. You know, I've had the same thing being a Formula One fan. I tell them, I love Michael Schumacher. And what do they tell me? Oh, really? Do you know what car he drove in when he first joined? I do. Yes, it was the Jordan. It was a great car. It had a great livery. And it's the same thing with League of Legends. For some reason, especially male viewers feel very offended by the fact that I possibly could know more about the game than they do. And obviously that hurts. And it's weird because you never actually get any good feedback for just your knowledge. It's always about something else, you know? It's always about, how does she look? Oh, she's weird. Oh, she's so loud. Oh my God, she's arrogant. But I feel like none of that has stopped me, because if I wouldn't be here if I wouldn't have seen someone else do it. And I think the most important thing is we need to see people like us succeed in order to actually believe that it's possible. And if I wouldn't have seen G Trouble Inc. cast the flippin' NLC, I would have never come to the point where I am right now, where I believe I can do this, and I want to be that person for someone else. I want to be that person you watch on Twitch and you're like, wait, maybe if she can do it, I should try. Because I think that's the most important part. It's all about, you know, visibility. And in my case, criticism has always kind of led to motivation, which I'm honestly not entirely sure if that's something you can just learn. But I've had that from acting as well. You know, we have a lot of castings. I've tried out for so many roles, and so many of them didn't actually end up working out, which is frustrating to say the least. And right now, for example, it's not really working out for me, the acting part. There's not a lot of roles coming up. And of course, some days that's really frustrating, and I want to, you know, stay in bed and not do anything anymore because it's uncomfortable. But at the same time, usually when I don't get the part, it makes me want the next part even more. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this one didn't work. Next one. Next one's gonna be mine. And I feel like I've always had that same motivation generally, but also in esports. Whenever someone tells me, I don't think you can do that, I'll be the one saying, okay, watch me. And that really has been my driving factor a little bit as well, where it's just like, try to make it your motivation, prove people wrong. Because gender in esports, in gaming, doesn't really exist. I mean, people always have this conversation when it comes to real sports, right? Oh, your physical abilities are different because you are a woman. Doesn't matter in gaming. We have hands. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And there's so many ways of making gaming inclusive as well. So I don't think that's even a topic to discuss anymore. And in order to make people understand that, again, we have to be more visible. But it is a little bit of a circle of doom, because I always feel like us as females, we have to put ourselves out there a lot more. Some of my male caster colleagues, they don't have a following on Instagram. They don't care about X. They don't stream on Twitch. They still get the greatest jobs. They still get the greatest opportunities. What do I have to do? I have to go on TikTok. I have to film an outfit check. I have to put that on Instagram too. I have to be active on Twitter at all times. I have to stream on Twitch at least once a week, better even more, in order to build my own community, which then, for some reason, brings more value to a broadcast than my actual knowledge and talent. What's that about? And then you have colleagues who say, oh, you with your silly little TikToks. It's so fun. Oh, you're making your silly little TikToks again? Yes, because I have to. because that's the only way I will get the same recognition that you get, even though we're doing the same job. And I might even be a little better than you. It doesn't matter. And that, of course, putting yourself out there gives more room to people who want to hate on you. But that's the internet, my friends. What can I tell you? I'm used to that. As an actress, I've been on TV for 3 years in a row. People think they know me. People think they can judge me from a character that I have played a year ago. Oh, how does she look? Oh God, who put her in that outfit? Oh my God, that character is so annoying. I bet she's like this in real life. And it's so strange because in the beginning, I took every single thing so personally, especially from acting. I was like, wow, people really think like that of me. But the most important part was that, you know, these people are anonymous on the internet. It's so easy to write shit when they don't have to show their own faces, when they can just be safe in their own room. I'm the one putting myself out there, so that makes me the bigger person in so many ways. And that's something that I had to learn for myself to be, you know, proud of that and proud of where I stand, what I've been doing and how I've put in the work, because for the longest time, I was kind of overwhelmed by it all and feeling like, oh God, do I deserve to be here? But I do. I've worked for this. I made it here. And who are you to tell me that I don't? Because I know my journey. You don't know my journey. You just see what you have in front of you, and for some reason it makes you angry. But that's not my fault. It sounds like a you problem. And thank you. And you know, the thing is, you will never find a way for everyone to like you. You will never make everyone happy, you know? Especially being in the spotlight, people will always judge you. That's just how it is. But I think for many of us, that's also, you know, despite knowing that, we still want to be there. And so I think you can't hide from that. And if you are actually looking to go through that, then you are aware of what you're putting yourself through a little bit. And my advice is always be yourself and find out what makes you special and what makes you valuable for a broadcast or for the system you work in or the group or the company or whatever. Find out what makes you special and what makes you important for that specific group of people that you work in. In my case, what I've heard so far is that people really like my humor. People like my knowledge that I bring to the table. I look at a lot of other regions as well when I cast League of Legends. I don't just want to talk about Germany because we're actually the most boring region you can possibly watch. So I'd rather watch the Chinese League or I watch the French League because they're completely cracked, you know? And I bring that knowledge to the table and people like that. And that's apparently something that makes me special. People like that I'm spontaneous and that I'm chill, you know, and that I say things how they are and I don't shy away from being open and honest, not even on a broadcast. Some people might hate it, some productions might hate it, but that's what you get when you get me. And that's what people enjoy, which is why people watch me and people want to follow me on social media because that's what they expect and that's what they're going to get. And to close this off, I gotta say, this part of the topic, we're not done yet. To close this part of the topic off, I have to say though, I personally had incredible support by a lot of male colleagues. Some of my greatest friends and advisors have been primary casters, male primary casters, and it's always very refreshing to see that they want to make the change too, and that they don't look at you for, oh God, she's a woman and she's trying to steal my job. I've had a guy who's been my mentor, who's been just really hyped about every single step I took along the way. And now I'm at a point where I also have a lot of female supporters, you know, girls that work in the LEC, which is like the biggest European league, and they have my back and they support me and they are rooting for me. And that feels really good. But what I'm trying to say is, of course, it's not all men, you know, but we know our experiences. We know what we've been through, and we know that it's most likely men who smile down at us and look at us like we're just a little smaller than them for reasons that don't really make any sense, but I guess we just have to prove them wrong. So the next topic I want to touch on is a little more sensitive, possibly. I don't want to say, oh God, trigger warning, but I'm just going to tell you right now, I will be very honest about my psychological struggles, okay? And if that makes anyone uncomfortable, that's totally fine. But just know you can walk away if you want to. It's fine. I'm not going to take it personally. So we've talked a lot about all the things, all the judgment, all the death threats, the mansplaining, whatever. Obviously, that's not so easy to handle. And I just want to ask you guys a few questions. So feel free to raise your hand if you want to. How many of you have ever felt like you're not doing enough for your job? Same. I can see you in the back. Cool. How many of you have ever felt like others are better than you at your job, maybe in life? How many of you have felt that ever before? Cool. How many of you have ever felt like an imposter in your field? Like you've been an imposter and you're not really sure, do I belong here? Are they sure they need me here? Yep, same. Well, I guess most of us can answer yes to that question or to those questions. And I have felt that way and I still feel that way to this day. And there's a lot of pressure on us to always improve and perform and to not miss out. And how dare you get sick? You have to be available at all times. And who knows when all these opportunities will come back around. Especially for me, in the past, I would say 5 months, I've been the substitute for Prime League. So whenever someone's sick, they call me up and they're like, can you come in? And how dare I say no? Because I have to do this. I have this opportunity right now. I cannot say no. It's impossible. I have to say yes at all times. I have to be ready. And for the longest time, it worked out fine for me. But I've been struggling with mental health pretty much since my teenage years. And I've always had big dreams, and I was always very worried. Oh God, will I ever reach them? Is it possible? Will I fail? How will I feel when I'm 30 and I have failed? I don't know, like those thoughts kept me up at night, and I really thought I can handle it myself. It's not that big of a deal. Until last year. Last year for me was probably one of the greatest years, and it moved mountains for me, but it was also one of the hardest years for sure. I struggle with performance anxiety. I struggle with that right now, where it's just become something that's not just fun anymore. I wasn't excited anymore to be on a broadcast. I was scared. I was afraid. I have panic attacks, and I'm feeling sick a lot. So my body has very extreme reactions to feeling uncomfortable, being in a situation where all eyes are on you. And that's so weird because I grew up playing in the theater. I've always had people watch me. And for some reason, ever since last year, I've been struggling with this. But that was the point where I realized I need help. I cannot possibly do it by myself anymore. I had a week of a lot of stuff coming up and I cried every day because I was so overwhelmed and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't help myself. And that was when I looked for a psychologist. And I mean, everyone who lives in Berlin will definitely know, but I think it's a general problem. Finding a psychologist is an absolute disaster. And I wish I could tell you what to do to make it easier. I don't think the healthcare system really makes it easier for us. The one thing I have had that was really just luck was that I've worked with several smaller esports teams who had esports psychologists. So I was able to turn to them. And I called her up and I was like, girl, this is really awkward and I feel very uncomfortable, but I need a session. Like I need it right now or I will lose my mind. I didn't know what to do anymore. And the diagnosis was adjustment disorder, which basically means whenever a situation is just a little out of the ordinary for me, my system shuts down. So let's say my train is running late. People would probably say, well, just take the next one. It's not that big of a deal. My mind is crashing down. I'm going full crash out right there in the train station. I'm going to cry. I will feel sick. I will faint. It's going to be horrible. That's basically how I feel whenever a situation is uncomfortable or uncontrollable for me. And I had to put that to work because I love my job. I love both my jobs. I love being an actress. I love being a caster. I don't want to stop doing it, and I hate that my body wants to tell me what I can and cannot do, so I gotta put in the work. And I had to learn to understand what my body and mind need. What are my triggers? For example, one of my biggest triggers is heat. Whenever it gets a little too hot, ooh, my body hates that. My mind spirals. My belly aches. Like, it's really weird. And I had to learn small rituals for myself. What do I need on a match day, for example? Let's say I have a match day, we have 5 matches and we're in the studio and it's these lights all the time and it's really hot. I need fresh food. I cannot, for the life of me, eat fast food on a match day. It will make me sick. I need fruits and veggies and something healthy like that, which, to be fair, I'm not eating that a lot, but those are the moments when I need it. Or I have this little fan that I take to every broadcast with me, and I put it right in front of me, and it blows in my face, and the cooling air makes everything just a little easier. And it's those tiny little hacks that I found for myself that made it better. Last year I had to cast on Gamescom, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for my little hand fan, because it was horrendously hot in that entire venue. So many people, which of course is an overwhelming situation in itself. And if I wouldn't have had that little fan in my hand blowing fresh air into my face, I would have probably fainted. So I'm very proud that I made it through that. But what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't have been able to do it in the first place if I wouldn't have asked for help. And if I wouldn't have found someone who can give me those hacks and take my hand and say, come on, we got this. It's actually not that bad. And one thing I still have to work on is getting over the muscle memory of places. Sounds super weird, but I'm gonna give you an example. There's this one broadcast I had, and while we were on broadcast, I had one of these panic attacky situations, right? And my body remembered it. The next time I went there, even though nothing had happened, the panic attack came right back. And I was like, wait, nothing is going on. What's happening to me? Why can I not control this? And that's the thing. You can't always control it. And that's my worst nightmare. I have no control. Oh my God, what do I do? And that's something I'm still trying to get over. You know, that's something I'm still trying to work with to this day. I will return to that exact location in a few months. Let's see how that goes. I'm not sure, but I'll figure it out along the way. So we need to understand that getting help is a strength and not a weakness. We need to admit to not being able to do it alone, but we also need to realize that we don't have to do it alone. There is people out there exactly for these situations to help you. And I think for me, that was the biggest takeaway from last year. I finally realized I can't do it alone. I don't have to do it alone. I want help. And it's the greatest thing I could have done, which is why I want to empower each and every single one of you. If you feel that way, you're not alone. There's help you can get. Maybe you have to dig a little, but once you found it, it's going to be awesome. And in my opinion, everyone needs a therapist. I think everyone's life would be better with a therapist. I'm just going to put it out there. So, to round this off, I want to talk about a little project that is coming up for me. It's called the Equal Esports Cup. It's by SK Gaming, Telekom Magenta, Esports Player Foundation, and the Equal Esports Initiative. And it's one of the big upcoming jobs that I have that I will definitely need my tiny little, mental health hacks for. And it's a very dear to my heart project, really. It's about female and non-binary League of Legends players. It's a tournament made just for them, just so they can gain the visibility that they need. And it's my second year doing that as a caster. I'm really, really proud, really happy they invited me back. I guess that means I did something right last year. And it's so important because we need to change the landscape. I think we've talked a lot about how, there's shocks, there's lore, there's great female hosts, interviewers, there's some female casters, but where are the female players? I can tell you where they are. Somewhere down there in the lower divisions of all the leagues in the world, but they exist. They just don't get as much visibility. And it's so important that we, on top of pushing female broadcast talent, start pushing female players because they deserve to be there just as much. Again, there is no gender gap in esports. It just doesn't exist. That is fake news. So we need to change the viewer habits. I'm convinced that as soon as we start putting female players out there more, people will stop hating it so much because they will understand that that's just how it is. I think if there was more female players in the scene, very present in the big leagues, people would just let it be and not worry about it anymore because for some reason it's a big topic and we're always very worried about that. Some other esports do it better. Valorant, for example, they've had a better system when it comes to pushing female talent. League of Legends, really, I'm not sure they've even tried. They wanted to give us game changers. We haven't heard about that in the past 5 months, so I guess that's a flop, which is so important for us to go back to Equal Esports Cup because that's what we can actually do, and it's important to, give them the platform for the visibility. And we need to put in the work to make an actual change. So we're starting off again in July. We have our big finals at Gamescom again this year. And if you want to support us in any way, if you want to even just, look at it, give us a view more, because that actually matters to us a lot, check it out on Twitch. It's going to be on the channel of the EPF, the Esports Player Foundation. We will definitely try to change the landscape just a little bit, one stream at a time. We have a full female broadcast talent this year. We have amazing teams that have already qualified. It's going to be an absolute blast. And I'm very grateful for the Equal Esports Cup, but also, again, for Womenize to make this happen, to make us talk to each other in a room, be open about this. I might not be the most qualified person to give you any input on your specific fields, because my field is very specific, right? But I just hope that I can inspire you a little bit to keep going. You just have to push yourself. No one else is going to do it. And I believe in you. And I know that there is people out there who have believed in me, and that gave me the wings to fly to the places where I'm at right now. I'm still not sure how that happened, but I believe in you, and I hope that listening to me can make you fly just a little bit. Thank you guys so much.